Good evening. My deepest regards to the families of Kendrick Johnson and Michael Brown. My name is Chinelo Tyler. I'm a sophomore in political science, major at Morehouse College. I'm actually a native of St. Louis, Missouri. At times I feel sorry for my mother and my father. My parents have one of the hardest tasks any black woman or man with a child must face today. They have to explain to me why things happen the way they do. I'm a college student, I'm a president, I'm a student of Morehouse, I'm employed, I preach, and in spite of my maturity and all my achievements, I still have trouble understanding the sequential occurrence of unfortunate events in the black community. So I strongly empathize with my father because I understand that one day I will have to bear the burden of having to explain to my child the same things he has to explain to me. When I have a son, I pray to God that he doesn't have to experience what I've experienced. I pray that he doesn't have to endure what my ancestors had to endure. However, I can't ignore the reality I will more than likely face. I wonder what I'll tell my son when he asks me, why did another student in class call me a nigger? Why did the police officer pull me over for no reason? Why was Kendrick Johnson's death ruled accidental? Why was George Zimmerman able to kill Trayvon Martin and walk away without justice? What will I say to my child? How will I remind him that he matters in a society that is constantly telling him that he's worthless and good for nothing? I hope the day I have to answer these questions never comes. America cannot afford to continue to ignore the injustice that occurs in this country. It is a part of the American dream for people who come from diverse backgrounds to be considered as equal in this country. But for as long as we continue to sleep and rest in the ignorance of social injustice, that dream will never become a reality. I want my son to live a dream and not have to survive the nightmare. My mother never thought I would live to see the same injustice that she experienced during the reign of apartheid in South Africa. Then we witnessed the murder of a young, innocent high school basketball player named Kendrick Johnson. Then we witnessed the murder of a student who was supposed to start college just days after his death, Michael Brown. Furthermore, we must find the courage to say that although America and the rest of the world has evolved, not enough has changed. When I have a son, I want him to enjoy the freedom that has been promised to us by this country. When I have a son, I don't want him to turn on the news and see that a young black boy was gunned down because he looked suspicious or because he didn't carry himself in a certain way. But if my son does have to adopt the horrendous burden that we all have to carry, I will prepare him. I will tell him that no matter what people tell you, you are wonderfully and fearfully made. I will make sure that he understands the teachings of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela. I will tell him that darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. I will make sure that he knows his rights and understands the concepts of black economic independence. I will tell him that he always must fight for what's right and sustain an endless amount of compassion for others. When we utter the names of Trayvon Martin, Kendrick Johnson, and Michael Brown, we are reminded of the evil that still exists in this world. We know that we have a long way to go, but we must continue to violently fight for the humanity we rightly deserve. We must start initiatives and programs. We've got to stand in the gap for one another academically, politically, socially, and economically. We must continue to protest and peacefully resist. We must pray and never let this conversation end, because when I have a son, I want him to experience an authentic form of justice. When I have a son, I want him to be able to live to see his next birthday without having to worry about being gunned down in the street because an officer had a bad day. When I have a son, I want him to go to school, get good grades, join the basketball team, and one day start a family of his own. So until then, we must continue to fight and execute the dream our elders envisioned. We must fight for Michael Brown. We must fight for Kendrick Johnson. We must fight for Trayvon Martin. No justice. No justice. No justice.